Got it, Brianna? So they're waiting.
Yes.
Oh, we're live.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Welcome to INTech, third day of the speaker series. Today we have Jasmine Lawrence with us. She's the CEO and founder of Eden Bodyworks, and she's also currently the project manager at X, the Moonshot Factory. So today she will be presenting to us, and there will be a section later on for questions and answers. All right. And Jasmine?
All right, thank you so much for the introduction. I'm excited to be here and talking to all of your, I don't know, campers. That's not what you call them. What do you call them?
We call them scholars.
Scholars. Well, congrats on being here and thank you for your time. I'm going to quickly walk you through a little bit of my life, my background in tech, and I want to save as much time as possible to answer questions and learn about all of you. So I'll just dive right in. Cool. So as she mentioned, I'm a product manager at the Everyday Robots project at X, the Moonshot Factory. I know that's a weird, really long title, weird name, weird company name and everything, but basically our goal is to make robots that help people in their everyday lives, which, still blows my mind that I get to do because it's something that I've wanted to do for a very long time. And I'll go into that in a second. But in addition to being a product manager working at a tech company here in Silicon Valley, I'm also the founder and CEO of Eden Bodyworks, which is a company that makes all natural hair and body care products to help women with all their different needs from dryness or itchy scalp or, helping to heal their scalp and help their hair to grow. This was a company that I started when I was only 13 years old, which I believe is not too far from the age of some of the scholars today. So for me, I don't know if you guys even know what these are, but for me, I got started in tech or in engineering in general because my grandfather used to play the lottery all the time. And I used to take his lottery tickets and use them as like origami and use them to build anything from dresses for my dolls to houses to air powered cars to whatever I could think of. And these were essentially my Legos. These were the building blocks of me finding a way to express myself creatively and to bring my ideas to life. And when I was 8 years old, I actually saw a movie called Bicentennial Man. And here you're seeing a screenshot from the movie. And this movie, they made humanoid robots that existed to help care for people in their homes, whether they were sick or injured or just needed someone to help do laundry or chores around the house, things like that. And seeing that movie when I was 8 years old really inspired me. I thought, wow, I want to be a type of person who could create something like that or repair something like that. And I really loved seeing all the benefits to society that would happen, if we could get a little bit of help around our homes and offices and things like that. The movie showed this, I don't know, amazing picture of the future. And I looked around my life and I said, that's not the world I'm seeing today. And how can I be a part of making that a reality? Because it seems so good to me. But unfortunately, I got distracted. When I was younger, I actually lost most of my hair to a chemical relaxer. So it's a process to help try and straighten your hair. And almost all of my hair fell out. And before this, I was very outgoing. I loved to go to school. I was very focused on, okay, I'm going to be good at math and science that I can build robots. And, when I lost my hair, I was very embarrassed and just very sad about the way that I looked. And I didn't want to go to school. I didn't want people to see me. I would wear hats and scarves and wigs and whatever I could to try and cover up the shame that I was feeling about how I looked. Because you know how people are sometimes, they'll make fun of you if you're different. And it was a really hard experience for me. But instead of being just like trapped in my own kind of shame of myself, I tried to find a way to get out of it. So what that led to was me using all my training in science and the scientific method to create natural products for me to try and help grow my hair back. And so this is me probably around 14 or 15 years old in my basement, which I had convinced my mom to let me turn into a lab to mix and create all natural hair products, from herbs and oils and juices and spices from around the world that she would order on the internet um, for me. And it really changed my attitude. I went and I spent a summer at a camp, very much like you all are doing. But this camp taught me about how to start a business. And at this camp, I learned that when you see a problem in the world, you don't have to just live with it. You can be creative and you can use your energy to try and find a solution. And so I felt myself struggling with this problem of wanting to grow my hair back, wanting to live a healthier lifestyle, wanting to not be so consumed with what everyone thought of me, and tried to design my own future. And so to do that, I ended up designing my own hair care products. And it's a long story, honestly, from the beginning to the end. But I will say that my parents were always very supportive of me, very encouraging. My sisters, my cousins, my family, they were some of my first employees. Even some of my friends were some of my first employees, helping me get this business off the ground. And, although it started with my allowance, I have to be really grateful for my parents for even giving me the allowance that I could save to buy the ingredients that I needed, and just for them to continue to encourage and inspire me to do this. And it ended up turning out really well. Um, I was featured in the local newspaper where I was living in New Jersey, and they kind of caught on in all these news outlets, from the New York Times to the Wall Street Journal to CNN, and eventually I landed a seat on the couch of Oprah. Now, this was back when Oprah still had a daily talk show. And it was amazing to meet her and to hear that she had a similar story that I had, that she also lost her hair when she was younger. And she also experienced bullying and name calling, and even challenges in her career because of the way that she looked and the way that she wore her hair. So to hear her encouragement and I don't know, to hear her praise and excitement over, that I took the initiative to try and do something about my problem really, really inspired me. And it also brought a lot of attention to the business. After that, we were very, very well known. Lots of orders coming to our website. And, by the time I was on the show, I was actually in the middle of negotiations to try and get my products into Walmart stores and other major retailers. And kind of having the blessing of Oprah, or the visibility of someone like Oprah, knowing that you exist and seeing what you're doing and encouraging you to keep going, was a big energy booster, and honestly a great motivator for some of the retailers who were going to take a chance on a then 16-year-old girl who was making products in her basement, to have them on the shelves, just like these big brand, big name companies that were spending hundreds of millions of dollars on marketing and product development. And it was really amazing to have so much momentum and have so much validation at such a very young age. And all of this was happening before I could even drive, before I had a car, or, right as I was entering high school. It was very, very early in my life that all this was happening. And, while the attention and the press and the growth in the business was amazing, there was a lot to balance. I still had to do homework. I was still playing basketball on my local basketball team, still volunteering at my church, still trying to spend time with my family. There was a lot that I was balancing. And, while I was proud of my success, I didn't want to lose kind of that feeling of being a normal kid and enjoying my youth and my childhood and all the fun times you have when you're in middle and high school, making friends that sometimes you'll have for the rest of your life. And so even though the business was booming, I still had to make a decision. We were making thousands of dollars at that point, and, growing to different stores and developing brand new products. And I had to make the decision of, was I going to continue to run this company, which had unexpectedly come out of nowhere and consumed all of my time? Or was I going to continue to follow that dream that I had, like I told you all before, about building robots and trying to make the world a better place with technology? Well, I decided a good step would be to at least go to college. Even if I decided to keep running my business and, keep being an entrepreneur, that if I went to school and I, got a degree in something, that even if I wanted to change my mind and not run the company in the future, that I could open myself up and have other options. And I never wanted to give up on, having the skills, having the formal skills from school to build those robots. And so I ended up attending Georgia Tech and getting a bachelor's degree in computer science. It was very welcoming there. There were people from all around the world there, from lots of different countries. And it was my first time kind of living on my own, buying my own groceries, doing my own laundry, like, you know, not in like a family setting. And it was very, I don't know, it's very freeing and liberating to be on my own, pursuing my dreams, and no one could tell me what to do. And the freedom of being able to make my own choices and to design my own future. I felt that encouragement from having a successful business made me just fearless of what could happen in the future, you know, if I just made the right choices and stayed on the path that I set for myself. So when I finally got to Georgia Tech, I, you know, changed my major from computer engineering to computer science. I recognized that I wanted to write code and control robots' brains more than I wanted to build electronics and design kind of their bodies and how they looked and felt and experienced the world. And so when I was maybe only 1 year in to college, I got an opportunity to work in the robotics and intelligent machines lab at Georgia Tech. Again, I felt very, very lucky that they took a chance on me because I didn't know how to code at all. I was in a class learning Java at the same time that I was trying to use Java to program this robot. And throughout the semester, I learned enough Java to be able to teach this robot here named Simon, basically how to have favorite colors. You know, I helped put something in his brain that would help him like red over blue or green over yellow. And Simon's ears would turn his favorite colors, and he would look at the block, the virtual block in this world that I created to demonstrate that, yes, I have a preference and it's this. And there were so many other applications to this research, and I wanted to just explore it and go deeper. So I was in school doing research, trying to make new friends in a whole new state, trying to learn how to cook on my own, you know, not trying to eat ramen and Pop-Tarts every day, but it happens sometimes. But I was doing all this. And after I graduated, I was able to get a job at Microsoft. And so again, I left Atlanta and flew all the way across the country to Seattle, Washington, where it's very rainy and very cold sometimes. And I joined the Xbox team. Now, I know my parents asked me this too. I know it's not robots, but it is technology. And it was a well-established company that was well-known around the world. There were hundreds and thousands of engineers there who I could learn from about how to perfect my skills, learn how businesses that weren't mine actually work, how they make money, how they plan. And I had a lot of fun working with this group and exposing them to just a different perspective. And you can see this group here was a really diverse group of my peers. And we advocated for whether you're old or young, whether you're from the US or not, whether you speak one language or three, that you belong here in this community. And that was, I would say it was like a new idea. You know, it was a new idea that a lot of companies were picking up around diversity and inclusion and making sure that people felt safe and people felt like they belonged at the place where they were working. And so this was my first experience working, and it was very, very cool working at Xbox. I had joined the team right before launch and helped put together the next generation of gaming consoles, which was the Xbox One. And they actually let us have our own all white versions. You can see my console here that actually says I made this on it. I was very, very proud to be a part of this team, to build something so complex and complicated, and something that was so fun that I got to have basically an Xbox at my desk in my office every single day. And I had to play it because a really important part of being a product manager is understanding the experience of your users. And so all my users were gamers or game developers. And so it was, for many years, I played video games for work, and it was fantastic. So if that's something that is interested to you, there are lots of companies like Microsoft or Sony or Zynga where you can make or create games to help people have entertainment and enjoy life, and even learn things like how to code or I don't know, how to play sports. There are lots of things that I was able to do there. But for me, my focus was actually on for the first few years on the developer experience. So how does Windows and how does Xbox work for people who want to make games? What cool features can we put on the console or on the device so that game developers can make really cool games? But later on, I transitioned into a different part of the experience. This photo here is actually from a gaming conference in Germany, in Cologne, Germany. So while I was working at Microsoft, they flew me, they paid for all these expenses. They flew me to Germany, to Europe for a week. And in this photo, I'm practicing for a conversation I'm about to have with over 400 news reporters from all over the world to tell them about the cool things that my team has built to help make gaming on your computer a lot better, a lot faster, and a lot more social. Now, it was really incredible for me to fly to Germany for free. It was maybe my second time in my entire life being to Europe, flying on a 13-14 hour flight to get to Germany. And it was fantastic because there were like almost 500,000 people there to learn about games, to play games, who made games. And it was amazing to be around so many people who were excited about the work that I was doing day to day in my office in Seattle. At the end of the conference, we actually got on a cruise, which was amazing, with 500 fans. And one fan was so devoted that they had brought their Xbox with them on the cruise, and they were going around and trying to find all the engineers who had worked on it so that they could get it autographed like they would a book or an album or something like that. And I was very proud to be a part of that community and to be a part of something that made this person so excited and so happy to spend time with us and get to know us and learn about our journeys to getting where we were. But I would say my favorite part of this trip was just taking advantage of this opportunity to be in Europe. So after this weekend where I had rehearsed and practiced and met fans and did all of this other work, I was able to take the weekend and stay in Paris all by myself. And I've been studying French since I was in middle school, but because my company was able to pay for a ticket there and a ticket back, they actually didn't care what the dates were. So I ended up adding 3 more days to my trip and just getting a small hotel in downtown Paris and eating baguettes and just having a great time shopping and going to the Eiffel Tower and just making the most out of this experience. Because at this point I realized that, it's in my early 20s. I've been working really hard, and that I should just continue to explore the world and experience new things and take advantage of this opportunity while I was there and not just be heads down, on the grind, just trying to work all this time. So one of the last things I did before leaving the team at Xbox was developing this feature called Clubs on Xbox Live. Now, this feature was an opportunity for us to help people play with like-minded gamers, because what we had learned is that some people were actually getting bullied online. And I know that this is happening even a lot more since I first started, but we wanted them to be able to build groups, and set their own rules, and so that they could have safe places to play, just like we were creating safe spaces for people to work. And so I was very proud to work on something that was going to be so meaningful and so impactful from a social perspective on people's lives. So you could find clubs for any of your favorite games, be it Minecraft or Rocket League or GTA, like whatever it happened to be, there was a community of people that you could play with, that you could hang out with every day online. And now during this pandemic, now that we're all stuck at home, I've definitely started going back, playing more games and reconnecting with people in my club and talking to them online in ways that we just can't do in person right now to keep everyone safe. So I'm really proud that something like this exists, and especially in a time such as now. So while I was in school, while I was working at Microsoft, I also got really excited to learn a lot more about people and how to build technology that would make people's lives better. Before at Georgia Tech, I learned a lot about engineering, about science, about computers and robots and how to build them and how they work, but not necessarily how to apply my technical understanding to solving real problems. So again, Microsoft was an amazing place for me to work because they actually paid for my degree. They paid for my master's degree. They gave me money so that every day I would work 9 to 5 at Microsoft. I would take a break and drive about 45 minutes over the bridge in Seattle, the University of Washington. And then from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m., so 4 more hours, I would go to lecture and meet with teams and do projects and learn what it is to make human-centered products and learn how to design and engineer products based on what people actually need and based on user research and user feedback. And it was really, really tough. It took me 3 years to get through this grad program, but my team at Microsoft was very, very supportive. And the best part about being in grad school and working full time was that as soon as I learned something at school, I was able to apply it at work. And I know sometimes in earlier in school, elementary school, middle school, whatever, you say like, when am I ever going to use this? But this was so immediate that I would have a lecture and then go to work the next morning, and we'd be designing a user research study, and I'd be like, oh, I'm in a class on how to do this. And so, while I might not have done the work, I totally could understand what that person was going through, and I could be a better colleague and help support them better by understanding what they were going through. I also, really sharpened my design skills and my research skills and learned a lot more about sustainable design and scalable designs and ways to build technology in a way that is less harmful to people and less harmful to the world. And so that was, I thought, an amazing investment of my time. And again, it was because I had a really supportive community of people who were encouraging me, people who would ride with me to school and back, or have dinners with me late at night when I got out of class, leaving campus. So I never felt like I was alone in any of this. But one thing I do have to remind you all is that, remember that business I started? Yeah, so all of that time, all of that traveling, all of the schooling, all of the working and playing games, I was still developing all new products for my company, traveling around the world, speaking at different colleges and trade shows and conferences about loving who you are and embracing your hair and you deciding what your future is going to be about. So during all this time, I was able to build up a team at Eden Bodyworks to help grow the brand and grow our exposure and our reach and our opportunity to engage in the community. And being able to have this company and being able to kind of work really showed me both sides of what it's like to have a job and to be a leader in an organization. Yeah, I was very proud. Again, it was very stressful and at times, but I really did my best to try and manage my time well. Sorry, let me fix this. To manage my time well and just to make sure that I never got, too overwhelmed, that I always took time to take care of myself, whether it was getting my nails done or getting a massage or taking a break or going on vacation. But I will say that my teams, both at Microsoft, both at Eden, and even my classmates at school, being open and being transparent about what I was going through made it a lot easier for me to find and get the support that I needed. Cool. So a lot more work experiences that I've had. I had the opportunity after Xbox to work on the Microsoft HoloLens, which is like a augmented reality headset that actually lets you manipulate holograms in your real world. And I'll show you an example of that. Here's an example of a doctor who's looking at scans of the human body and looking at it at all the different layers. And so some of these scans would be from like real people who were sick, who needed help, and some of them were just to help the doctors better understand what the human anatomy would look like. And so normally they would either see it in a textbook in 2D, or they would have maybe a really rare opportunity to see like a cadaver or a body of someone who had passed away already. But using the HoloLens, they were able to see it in depth and at scale and from many, many different perspectives to try and help them become better doctors. And so this is one of the projects that the team that I was working on had developed to help, I want to say, doctors at Case Western University. It was really incredible and mind-blowing to see something like this that looked really, really futuristic happening in my lifetime, and being a part of the team that help organizations use this type of advanced technology to make a difference in everyday life. But again, I got distracted. One summer, I think it was a friend of mine sent me a link about a giant robot fight. And I I decided to sponsor this giant robot fight, and I gave them some money that I've been saving to help them have money to build their robot. And so there was a team in the US and a team in Japan who ultimately like did a duel, and it was the most incredible thing I ever saw on YouTube. But you know, one of my gifts or one of my perks of being able to be a sponsor for this group was that I got to ride in that giant robot. Now, in this picture that you're seeing, it's crouched down, but it can stand up really, really tall. And on that hook in the back, there was actually a Prius. And some people, you know, got the opportunity to just punch the Prius with this giant robot. It was like Power Rangers or Gundam. It was like something you only see in cartoons was happening in real life. And that was the wake-up call that I kind of needed to remember, like, hey, you know, working with all this advanced technology, working in gaming, all this stuff is really, really cool. But didn't you want to build robots one day? And so it had been many, many years, and I'd learned a lot about how to create products. And I felt like, okay, I think I know enough to try and pursue this industry. Another thing that was happening in my life is that my mom had gotten sick, and she was actually living in California, and I wanted to move closer to my family, who I had been away from for more than 10 years by this time. And so I decided to move to California and moved to San Francisco specifically. And I got the opportunity to work for the first time in robotics at a group called SoftBank Robotics America, and work on this really, really adorable robot named Pepper. Pepper was a receptionist or a bank teller, or, you know, Pepper had many, many jobs, and it was very fun to be on the team that was helping Pepper find new jobs and new ways to help people. This was the first time I really felt like my dream came full circle and became a reality. And I wanted to do more. I wanted to stay in a career where I was always focused on helping people and making their lives better. And, you know, being able to have the technology relate to my personal experience was really meaningful to me. So one of my professors from Georgia Tech actually recommended that I try to work at Facebook. And so I worked at Facebook, but I didn't work on Facebook like you guys are watching from now. I actually got to work on a product at Facebook called Portal. And it's a video communication device to help you stay connected with people who are really far away. And this was really meaningful for me because, you know, while I was in California with my mom, my dad, he lives in Washington, D.C., very, very far away. And my grandmother lives in New York, and I have family still in Georgia. And, you know, it was really tough to travel and be working and being in school and being able to see them. So I was really happy to be working on something that could help people see their family from across the country. And even, you know, there were people on my team from Italy, from Ukraine, from lots of different countries around the world. And it was amazing to be able to build something that really would connect us and help us, you know, not miss out on each other's lives. So after working on that, I've had many, many opportunities to do really cool things. I switched over to a team at Facebook called Social Impact. And I worked for a year on a product called blood donations. So if you go to facebook.com/blood donations, you'll be able to sign up to be a blood donor. And when you donate blood, you can actually save 3 other people's lives with the different components of your blood. And so there was a huge shortage in the US, there's shortage in lots of countries around the world. And so my job there was to help make sure that we've got the best experience for blood banks who want to use Facebook to recruit blood donors, and that blood donors had a great experience when they would go and try and donate blood. The last thing I focused on was international expansion and trying to help, not just in the US, you know, in my local community, but to help launch in other countries. Now, due to coronavirus and COVID-19, a lot of people are being asked to shelter in place and stay home. And they were really worried about getting sick if they chose to donate blood. So my team did a lot of work to try and dispel any myths that you'll get sick by doing this, and like, you know, share all the precautions that blood banks are taking, because we still need people to donate today. There's still people who, you know, are having surgeries or having babies or getting in accidents where they need that life-saving blood. And so I was really proud again that there's something that exists today that's helping people around the world do good. You know, like my team, you know, worked really hard to build this, but now it's up to people who volunteer to use their time, to spend their time to do this good in the world. And I'm happy that we were able to create this opportunity for people to do the good that I know that people really want to do. So after Facebook, I learned a lot, still very, very compassionate about creating technology that inspires people. And I had the opportunity to get back into robotics, which is where I am today. working at the Everyday Robot Project at X, the Moonshot Factory. And so this is an example of one of the robots at our office. But the interesting thing for me is that because everyone is working from home, who can, I'm one of those people who works from home, and I have not been to the office yet. I've never actually seen the robot that my team is working on every day. But in this image, the robot is actually about to go sort this trash. So when people put trash in these different bins, you know, there's trash, compost, and recycling, and the robot goes through and just makes sure that, you know, someone didn't put a plastic bottle in the trash or in the compost, to make sure that it gets sorted properly, so that it doesn't all just go into the landfill. And that redirection of that waste into the proper bins can really help make a difference in our planet and just the health of our environments. So really proud of that project that the team is working on now. My job as a product manager is to help figure out other things that we can do with these robots or other robots in the future to help make an impact in our everyday lives. And our goal is really to help as many people as we can. So I work with a lot of really smart people that I mostly communicate with through my laptop every day. But it is very exciting. And through all of these experiences in tech, I've continued to learn. I've continued to be challenged. I've continued to meet people who are very, very different from me. And people who respect and value me as a person, you know, even though I'm a woman, even though I'm a Black person, like I've had a lot of different challenges, but there's never been a time where I felt like I couldn't speak up or speak out against it, or be supportive and try and build the community that I wanna be in. And that takes a lot of courage and can take a lot of effort on top of, you know, having to do just your job day to day. But it was a fantastic experience for me. So outside of work, I'm also pretty creative. I like to build stuff. These are example of some light up shoes that I made a couple years ago. I made them because I wanted them. And I saw lots of kids walking around with light up shoes, and I thought I'm gonna make an adult version. So while this didn't necessarily like solve a problem or save anyone's life, it was a really fun project for me to learn about LEDs and to make some really cool sneakers that nobody else could have. And as you all have experienced today, I love to volunteer my time to help other students get into tech, to learn how to code. And this is a screenshot from an hour of code program that I did with code.org, where they could actually teach you how to code using examples from the really popular game Minecraft. So it has been my pleasure to have a company, to work in tech, to do all these things, and to spend some time this morning chatting with you guys and sharing my story. So I'm really looking forward to any questions that you all have about my experience or what it's like to be in tech. Thank you.
Thank you, Jasmine, for your incredible story. That was so amazing to just hear the different aspects of your life and how you came to be where you are now. So now I'm going to ask you a few questions from our scholars. One question we have is, what advice would you give to your younger self or someone younger than you who wants to be an entrepreneur and have a career in tech?
Ooh, yes. Yeah, my advice is just to really get good at managing your time, because it's a lot. I mean, having one job is a lot. Having two jobs is even more. And so you really have to stay focused on what you want to do, and your calendar should reflect what your priorities are. So if you want to be in business, you need to study business. You need to study your customers and your market and your branding and all of that. But if you want to be in tech, you have to learn about technology and engineering and science. And again, it's the same thing, lots of different industries and markets and competitors and getting funding. And there's a lot to do. And I don't think it's impossible for anyone to do it. It's just, it takes a lot. And so if you're trying to pursue both and it gets too tough, you know, sometimes you might have to make a decision to focus on one for a while over the other. But I think it's possible to do if you can stay motivated and stay focused on the time.
Okay. And we have a second question. So how did you, and this is more towards Eden Bodyworks, how did you think of which ingredients to put in your products?
Oh yeah, so I didn't just make it up. I did a lot of research, just like I would do if I was doing an engineering project. I actually did research at that time was at the library, because I started my company when Google searching wasn't a big thing, which I know is like super hard to fathom. I went to the library and I got books on natural ingredients. And so I would learn things like, peppermint is an antifungal. So if I want to design something that would be cleansing or that would help clear people's scalp, then peppermint would be likely a good ingredient. Or jojoba or coconut oil is a very moisturizing oil. It's very easy oil for our hair to absorb. And a lot of people are suffering through dryness. And so if I combine something that is moisturizing and that would seal in the moisture, coconut oil would likely be the ingredient that I would use. And for a little while, we actually had custom products that we would make. So we would have people fill out a form and choose multiple choice options like you would on a test of like, hey, what do you need, what are you dealing with, what kind of hair do you have, all those types of things. And that algorithm or that system from that form would let me know what ingredients to put in there based on what their needs were. Now it was very, very tough to maintain that, but it was very straightforward to say, hey, if you need this, then these are the options for the ingredients. And we also allowed people to let us know if they had any allergies. So like some people are allergic to nuts and nut oils. And so things to avoid, or if they had a preference for, if they wanted it to smell earthy or flowery or things like that. And so I was able to create a system for designing formulas. And then some of the more popular formulas actually, ended up being full-scale product lines. It's a little different from how we do product development today, which is much more focused on getting feedback from groups of people, focus groups, surveys, things like that. But in the beginning, it was just a lot of research to understand what do plants do, what are their benefits, and how can they help us as people, and then leveraging those at scale.
Awesome. Thank you for that answer. I think we have a lot of scholars that are interested in entrepreneurship. So thank you for that. Another question I have for you is, so you mentioned how you were managing Eden Bodyworks and also going to school, pursuing tech. That's a lot on one person. So I'm kind of curious as who was your biggest support system?
Yeah, I would have to say my parents. My mom and my dad were really encouraging. They were really easy to talk to. My dad works in tech as well. And so he was always, really supportive if I was struggling through a problem or was frustrated. He has like a very chill mentality. And so it's really hard to get him kind of like riled up and angry. And so he would always be like, calm down. It's not that hard. You got this. Like they just expected me to have it together and be smart. And I kind of was like, yeah, no, I can take care of it. But my mom was probably my biggest emotional support, where I would talk to her about stuff that was just happening in life outside of work or outside of tech, with friends or, dating or anything like that. And so my parents were and have always been like the biggest cheerleaders for me in my success in anything. Yeah.
Okay. And then we have a really good question that just came in. Was it hard to be successful as a Black woman? Or what are your experience with that?
Yeah, I would say there's definitely challenges, right? Like there's definitely a loneliness that you feel sometimes because there are not as many Black women in tech, but I will say these things are not debilitating, right? They're definitely things that can make you feel uncomfortable or things that make you feel like pressure to be perfect or be amazing because I might be the first Black person this team has ever had. But those things I feel like are like external to like my personal experience because I did my best to be prepared and to bring my best skills and to earn the opportunities that I got through working hard. And so I try not to get distracted about some of those things that could be very depressing and very challenging. And I faced some discrimination early in my career, mostly around like, I don't know, when I was younger, there was someone at work who would call me like sweetheart or princess or these like very like names and like that didn't stop me from doing my job, but it did make me a bit uncomfortable. And, now I feel, emboldened and encouraged from talking with other women to push back against that behavior that makes me uncomfortable in the workplace. But back then it's something I kind of just suffered through and tried to ignore and push through, the side. But having opportunities to speak with you all, to encourage you all to join me in tech is very, very motivating, and encourages me that some of the challenges that I'm facing, that they don't think that there are enough of us who know what we're doing, or that there's not enough opportunity for us. Like, I'm encouraged by you all as the next generation coming up and being more brave than I was, being more bold, being more equipped and more prepared, to join me. And I hope that maybe one day I'll be your CEO or your boss one day when you come and work at the tech company that I'm at. That things will change. Attitudes are definitely changing. And, for me, even when I was in engineering school in high school, I was like one of 2 Black women in the program of like 25 people, most of who were white males. And I just thought, like, that's what, it never felt I never felt like, okay, I'm the only woman here, or, you know what I mean? Like, I didn't see those numbers until they were amplified in college, where, I'd be in a group of 200 people learning calculus, and there would be 5 of us women together, and maybe one of them was Black, which was me, and, someone else from, a different country. It wasn't until then that I was like, wow, there is actually huge disparity here. And that's where the isolation kicked in. And that's where, even in college was when I was first exposed to specific scholarships for women in tech, or, all these programs trying to emphasize and encourage and try and get more of us into the program. It was very jarring and very shocking. But now I do see a lot more companies trying to be more fair in their recruiting, or be more equitable, or a lot of organizations investing in schools and in communities, because it's not necessarily like the children or the students who like can't do it. It's having to struggle with not having enough to eat, of your parents, you maybe not having enough to provide for you, of just all the things that surround you that make you want to pursue something like sports or music, or something that you can see and feels more tangible to you than working at a company whose product you use every day and you can't even imagine how it got created. And so I do see the world shifting and changing a lot. And I've been reading even a lot recently about how much privilege that I've had, and how fortunate that I've been to even have a mom and a dad who were able to be there and support me, and had time, even though I'm one of 6 of us, to individually encourage me in my dreams. And I know that everyone doesn't have that amount of support. Some people are really on their own from a young age, or some people even in the foster care system. Just there's so much that can get in the way, I would say, of women, and of minorities and people of color. And I would say that none of that is insurmountable. None of that is impossible to overcome. I don't think we should just accept it for what it is and just tolerate it. But the world is changing, and you and I can be examples, and be allies and advocates, and fight back against the behaviors that we see that are unacceptable. So I would just say, if you guys choose to enter into tech, that you will face challenges, but I just want to encourage you to be bold and be brave, and just respectfully demand what you feel like you deserve.
Thank you. Thank you for that message for our scholars. That was great. So that was actually our last question. And I just want to say thank you once again for taking out your time out of your very busy day, your very busy schedule, to speak to our scholars and to encourage them and to tell your story. Thank you. And we'll be ending this call soon, so our scholars can get back to their day of camp.
Awesome.
So
have a wonderful day. It's fantastic to meet you. Best of luck, and I hope to see you in tech soon.
Yay. Okay. Thank you.